of announcing our next speaker here. And just, I wear two hats typically. One is politically and one is scientifically, and this is why I got asked to introduce our next speaker here. I worked as the regional coordinator for the Obama campaign out of an office in Air. My wife and I helped run that. Since then, we've joined the Air Democratic Town Committee. We're both working on, my wife and I are working on the Finance Committee as well as the Preservation and Planning Committees, so please act locally. I'm going to be a delegate to the state convention as well, so I have a political hat that I get to wear, so I'm excited because we know that our speaker here certainly talks about the political side. And then scientifically, I have a pretty special background. I am now the CEO of Bay-State Biofuels. It's a biodiesel distribution company that just announced that we're going to be building here in Massachusetts and creating jobs, and I'm pretty excited about that. So, with that in mind, I want to introduce our next speaker, who is Seth Kaplan. He wasn't able to get into the program here, so I just want to give a great and very enthusiastic thank you to Seth, who stepped in at the last minute as a substitution in our program, so we're very thankful for that. Thank you, sir. His willingness to come talk to us about important issues on short notice is emblematic of the passion and dedication that he has to solving this country's energy and climate change problems. Because his bio did not make it into the materials, I'd like to tell you a little bit about him. Seth Kaplan is a Conservation Law Foundation Vice President for Climate Advocacy and Director of CLF's Clean Energy and Climate Change Program. His work includes deep involvement in the systems that oversee the New England regional electricity system and creation and implementation of energy efficiency and climate policy and efforts on the state, regional, and federal levels, including opening markets to demand resources like energy efficiency. He generally directs CLF's work regarding climate protection, litigation regarding the environmental impact of fossil fuel power plants, renewable energy, and energy efficiency. A native of Rhode Island, Seth worked as a real estate and environmental attorney in New York City before his return to CLF, where he had previously worked as a law student. Seth is a graduate of Wesleyan University, Northeastern University School of Law. Please give a very warm welcome to Seth Kaplan.
Thank you very much. I was worried that I hadn't dressed up enough. I was listening to David Axelrod actually on the radio coming over, and he was saying that the hardest part of adjusting to working in the White House is they have to wear a tie every day. So I figured I was kind of getting into the spirit of things by being in, a soccer dad. It was a soccer dad formal. I have to do, just to explain, Conservation Law Foundation is an environmental advocacy organization. It's the oldest regional environmental advocacy group in the country. We're just in New England. I do have to do the disclaimer that CLF is a 501c3 organization. We do not endorse candidates, and we do not, actively participate in campaigns. And we do, do as much lobbying as you're allowed to do as a 501c3. So, if invited, I will show up, at all partisan stripes and organizations. So very happy to be here today. But the organization does not take positions in terms of parties and candidates. So just important things you got to say out loud. And it is of course a member-supported organization. You can join online at clf.org. I really got to say that. We got to keep the lights on and the place running. And we are actually, just digress 1 second, we are running a great online contest right now. We've got some wonderful donated prizes where if you go to clf.org/contest, you can send pictures of yourself living green. There's some great prizes. So there we go. Well, this gets pretty heavy, so I wanted to start light. Just move on to the next slide there. It really does start with the science. I imagine 1 or 2 people here have seen Al Gore's movie and are familiar with the science. This actually, on the screen here, is actually from the current issue of Nature Climate, a special publication of Nature magazine. And these are, I always say the climate advocates' mantra #1, the thing we end up saying the most is, the scary part is. And the scary part about the slide that's most over on the left, the one that looks like a roller coaster, is that those are best case scenarios. And the blue line that goes up and then down is actually what is referred to in policy circles as an overshoot scenario, where we continue to increase our emissions of greenhouse gases over the next couple of years, and then are able to compensate by slashing them even more sharply. And this, the next line is cumulative emissions of CO2 into the atmosphere over time. And what you'll see is it shows a leveling off. Now, if you think about that, that means that what the climate scientists are telling us over the long term, what we need to do, and this is really scary when you really think about this, is virtually eliminate emissions of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. I mean, I want you to stop and think about that for a second. The target is to not have virtually any cars running on gasoline, jets running on jet fuel, power plants running on coal. The extent and the depth of the change and the transformation in our society and economy that is implied in that sentence is staggering.